What things you shouldn't do in the USA. Don't bribe the cops. My dad has friends from various third world countries where it's just a fact of life that you slip some cash to the cop when you get pulled over. But here you'll get in a lot of trouble for attempting to bribe a cop. My friend had his cousin from Mexico up here visiting, and he had to practically tackle her to prevent her from trying to bribe her way out of a speeding ticket. Don't take a free mixtape in New York City. Actually, don't take anything from anyone in Nick. Prayer beads, photos, flyers. Keep moving. Also, don't stop in the middle of the sidewalk or entrance to a store. Stay out of the way. My husband did this in Venice Beach, and for some reason gave the guy $10 for it. I rolled so hard lol. We listened to it, it was terrible haha. We laughed hard so I guess it was worth it haha. How small is your large? How large is your bathtub? Choose your drink size accordingly. Crap, this is too true. I ordered a large Coke in Miami once. To this day I haven't seen a bigger cup. I haven't been back to the US, so that's why. If you go to Yellowstone, don't walk out onto the thermal features. Can confirm this is a bad idea. Source, worked in YNP 1972. Have visited 20-25 times since then. I'm stunningly amazed at the number of people who risk their lives chasing the bison bears or walking on the delicate thermal features. Stay on the boardwalk. Take a picture with a character in Times Square. They take it freely with you then demand money. It's awkward and I'm pretty sure they do it that way to guilt money from tourists. The distance from Washington state to Florida is the same as the distance from Ireland to Syria. TLDR. You can't drive everywhere in one day. I'd like to think the frequency in which people expect to be able to do so is much lower than people seem to make out. I think most Europeans realize the extent of the US, in particular those who travel to there. You do not need to actually answer the question how are you? Just say I'm good and you. If you don't follow this rule, you'll be telling people how you are like 100 times a day. If you drink alcohol as a passenger in a car, the driver could get pulled over and given an open container ticket regardless of whether or not alcohol is in his or her system. In Tennessee you can have open containers and passengers are allowed to drink in the vehicle. There are a few other states that do this also but I don't know them off the top of my head. Plan to go to a bunch of different states, unless you are here for a while. You can't drive across the states in one day. You're not gonna see Nick, New Orleans and make it to Disney World on a 2-week vacation unless the only thing you want to see is the airport. Don't walk on the left, always on the right. Only really matters if someone is coming the opposite way. Some Americans need to learn this crap too. Don't leave your car right after a police officer pulls you over. Wait for him/her to talk to you at the window first and settle it out. I've heard stories about foreigners not so knowing about all the laws of the US and nearly get detained or shot for just a seemingly minor thing. Stay safe people. Don't ignore a line of people by going to the front. Get in line. Please don't leave your garbage all over the beaches. I know the whole spectacle kind of feels like a theme park where janitors are always right around the corner, but it's nothing like that. It devalues some really lovely places and it harms the local ecosystem. Please just throw your garbage away. Don't just use this rule at beaches, or in America, just don't litter. Outside of the northeastern US, don't plan on taking the train anywhere. By this, I mean the train between cities. Amtrak is a government entity company hybrid that runs the trains. And seriously, south of Virginia and west of Detroit, the trains are infrequent, often only daily, sometimes less, and this is between big cities, and generally expensive. Flying is often very comparable in price, especially if you buy tickets at least 7-10 days in advance. The quality of local mass transit varies wildly from city to city. In some cities it's great, and in others you should just take a cab, Uber, whatever instead. Taking the Amtrak across the Rockies is an awesome experience. Say anything about a bomb, you will not have a good time. I think that would apply to a lot of Europe as well. You shouldn't hope to see Nick, Disney World, Yellowstone National Park, and Hollywood in one trip unless you have a lot of time and money. Yellowstone National Park. Piece of advice from someone who worked there. Go beginning or end of summer. If you going June, July, or August you will sit in slow moving lines of cars and RVs. The park is still wonderful, but if you want to move at your own pace, don't go in the middle of summer. Most everyone will probably be a bit more friendly and chatty than you're used to. Keep small talk small, as that's what most people want. If you want to extend a conversation, mention you are visiting for the first time and where you are from. That'll get people talking about the local places and cool stuff to do. Also be aware of scams and trouble. Use some street smarts and ask locals how safe an area is at night if you are not sure. Some dangerous areas look like quiet little streets. Oh, and a tip from when my Australian friend moved here and got lost once. Churches do not equal safe neighborhoods. Seriously, there are churches in the ghetto. She legit probably didn't get ganked due purely to her accent. Do not stop on the on-ramp. Unless there's a traffic control signal at the on-ramp. If you are visiting from any place south of the border, don't expect every US citizen to know or understand Spanish. I live near the border in Texas, and although I am able to speak Spanish, I have witnessed situations where visitors criticize US citizens for looking Hispanic but not being able to speak any Spanish. A good one is to mention that you're from the Ukraine. People will pretty dang helpful if you tell them you don't exactly understand the customs of the US and ask them to guide you. Agreed. An American in an average sized city will run across many foreigners each day. If you ask nicely for help, chances are you'll get it. Some people are rude, but just ask the next person. Someone will surely be willing to help. If you are from India, remember a cheeseburger is nothing but a beef burger with cheese on it. It's not a cheese slice inside a bun. So don't hold up the line and act surprised. Saw a guy do this in New York a couple months ago. The guy ordered 6 cheeseburgers at McDonald's. Needless to say, the restless crowd of people waiting to order were not too happy that they had to wait for all of his burgers to be remade. Do not stand on the toilet seat and squat. Learn to sit down, or at least to hover accurately with the seat up. You will break it. I don't care what the rating is. If you stand on a toilet, you are asking for it to shatter. And honestly, if you want to owe a place $10,000 in water damage repairs and then die of sepsis because you lacerated yourself with the impossibly germy shards of a public toilet, you need to stay home and get counseling. Don't chew with your mouth open, especially as a house guest. Don't chew with your mouth open ever, never ever, FTFY. All Americans speak sarcasm. Understand that most of what they say that may seem preposterous is simply them bringing comical irony to a subject. This seems like a pretty good one to keep in mind, especially since in many places that humor can be really dry. Like in some more rural areas, you can have some old guy sarcastically give you crap to see how you react, and then laugh like a crazy person and say I'm just messin' with ya, come on and grab a beer. Honestly, how many of you are actually from the USA? I'm from Texas, so I can vouch for you. Just keep your space, be friendly but not overbearing. Accept that good food is not the most advertised or most available food. Ask people about good places to go in the area instead of looking for tour sites. And get used to seeing people that are vastly different between different states. Also, small restaurants are sometimes the best places for food in the South. Ask around first though, because they might actually just have bad food. Thanks for an advice. Don't enter an elevator or subway car before disembarking. People have disembarked. Let people out first, then enter. Also don't attempt to cut in line. This isn't Britain. We'll call you out on that crap. Make bomb jokes in the airport is a pretty strong nope. I once said I hope nothing explodes in my bag, meaning my shampoo and conditioner bottles, to my friend while in line at security, nowhere even near our agent. Cue intensive screening and a private room pat down while they searched all of my bags. Lesson learned, never again. Not tip. I am European and I genuinely didn't understand about tipping in the US. I got funny looks, tuts, and finally thrown out of a bar in Pennsylvania for not tipping. Don't order a medium drink at a fast food restaurant. They'll give you a huge cup. Plus they usually have free refills anyway. As a visitor, and this applies to pretty much anywhere, not just the US, Don't spend your entire time here talking about how much better your culture country is. The whole point of traveling was to experience a new place. Also, don't just do the touristy things and then judge the whole country based on that. If all you do is visit Nick, drink Budweiser, and eat McDonald's and Hershey's chocolate, don't go back home and tell everyone how crappy America is. Exactly, America has a whole lot more to offer than the fricking M&M store in Las Vegas. Don't haggle, unless you're in a flea market, garage sale, car dealership, or buying a house. Even then, practice in moderation. This, in 90% of stores in the US, the price is the price marked, before sales tax. There's no negotiation. After working many years of retail near one of the more famous universities in the US, Notre Dame, it was very common for foreigners studying here to try and negotiate prices on things. That's not how retail works here. From what I've seen, never step out of your car if you are pulled over by law enforcement. There are too many stories and videos of people being arrested, and even killed for doing that. Don't frick with the cops. Ruin natural formations in our parks. Take only pictures, leave only footprints, etc. Yes, also stay on the path. This is just a saying to remind you to not wreck nature. Leave anything unlocked or unsecured, especially if you're in any of our metropolitan areas. Don't leave your baby in a stroller outside while you go inside a place. This is actually a serious tip. This is done in Nordic countries, as it's considered good for babies to sleep in the cold, albeit bundled up. There's been a few cases where visitors to the US have done this, leading to a big mess. In America, people sometimes call the cops if kids play unsupervised in their own yards. Walk off the trail in Yellowstone. Unless you want to boil to death. If you want an iced tea that is not literal iced unsweetened black tea, order a sweet tea. A Canadian speaking from experience. Apparently sweet tea is a southern thing in the US. Here if you want unsweet tea you have to ask for it specifically. Apparently in the north if you ask for sweet tea you'll get funny looks and hot tea with some sugar packets. Don't frick with cows, seriously. They look nice and fluffy and even cute sometimes, but they're 1,000-pound animals that will promptly frick you up if you get between them and their child. Honestly, a little nervous for all the foreigners city folk coming to my rural area for the eclipse coming up. I don't want to find someone who had gotten hurt from one of my cattle. This also goes for deer, moose, bears of any type, or any wild animal that you may encounter. Ask for a biscuit with tea cause you don't get a fricking biscuit. My advisor's Brit who's traveled the USA is don't expect to use public bathrooms to take a crap. They have 1 inches gaps all round the doors, and the doors have massive gaps at the bottom and top. It's the one thing you do smaller, toilet doors, but yet the urinals, don't know the USA name, where men pee, have big boards in between them just in case anyone accidentally glances at your appendage. In the UK our toilet stalls are sealed. You should never be seen crapping by another human. However we pee side by side in one big trough. You guys are strangely open and shy at the same time. We call them urinals here. Don't go off the path in Yellowstone and frick with the hot springs. If you ever find yourself on Martin Luther King Boulevard, it's probably best that you find a way to no longer be there, quickly. You'll probably get robbed on MLK Boulevard, but dang can you find some good BBQ. Worth the risk, Imo. Don't use the N-word. Just don't. No matter what arguments people want to make on either side for using it or not using it, just save yourself the trouble and the arguments and potential strife and avoid using the word altogether. Even if you feel you have the right, it's really not worth the drama. Don't litter. Most places have public trash cans. Keep your trash until you find a trash can. Same stuff you shouldn't do anywhere else. Don't be a jerk. Don't assume everyone is the same, but remember we are all humans. Don't judge all the people based on a few interactions or stereotypes. Sit too close to people without their permission. If you're a stranger, permission will never be given. Yes, always exercise the one cushion rule unless there is little space. This just choose the 2 skinniest people to sit in between. You've been visited by the good policy grandpa. You will be blessed with good economics and healthcare, but only if you comment sleep well Burner. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.